the Bible Forum. It's Sunday night. It's what we do. We're going through this whole coronavirus thing. And, you know, if you're paying any attention at all, if you have any context for what's happening, you realize that we're going about this all the wrong way. We've never done this with anything before. Not this way. And to continue doing it is just not working. But I'd like to suggest to you that coronavirus is not what you think it is. We're being told that state for state, the health crisis is seemingly over. We've reached peaks in many places. New York City is one, or New York in general. They believe they've reached a peak, and then it starts to go the other way. But the economic and constitutional crisis continues. The national media doesn't understand this for obvious reasons. Can you say ratings? It means dollars in their pocket. According to Judicial Watch, national level data show that the number of new COVID-19 cases peaked on April 4. That was 3 weeks ago. Since then, they have declined by 22%. In New York, the worst of the virus hotspots, the net change in total hospitalizations began to decline April 2nd. Did you hear that on the news? No, you didn't. By April 13, more people were leaving those hospitals than were entering. In addition, the predicted overload of New York's hospital bed space never happened. They have a military hospital ship docked there in New York. It hasn't had one COVID-19 patient. It has, I don't know how many. The last number I heard was like 20 something. It's not being used. The tents they put up in the park, not being used. All the other places that were converted into emergency hospital, not being used. To put things further into perspective, there are currently about 526,000 active diagnosed cases of coronavirus among 329 million Americans. That means that 99.85% of the population do not have the virus. And if these people are right, we shut this country down for less than 1% of the population. You see, we've never been told percentages. We've only been told numbers. Numbers are scary because they're big. But percentages, more rational. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention cannot claim convincingly that social distancing is effective in slowing the spread of this, to date, ill-understood virus. In fact, a new study out of Israel shows that the coronavirus timeline is the same across countries whether they locked down or they didn't. We have not seen death and other data for Americans denied access to elective medical care due to the effective shutdown of the healthcare system. And there are no models that show the ongoing destruction of healthcare jobs. The bigger issue is that we can't have adequate healthcare without a strong economy. While only a small percentage of Americans have caught the virus, almost everybody's been affected by the government's response to this pandemic. Tens of millions are out of work. Over 20 million people are out of work. Businesses have shut down. Some will never start up again. And this pain is not being spread evenly. Have only non-essential federal workers been laid off? Or is just the private sector supposed to go through all the economic inconvenience of the coronavirus shutdown? The real problem is that millions of unemployed small and medium-sized business owners and families have too few advocates in the government or in the media. The consequences of this national shutdown, apart from any pandemic, are dire and will not be materially alleviated by government spending. Budget-busting federal stimulus packages offer temporary relief at best. But the best stimulus is opening America back up for business. The Constitution is also under threat thanks to a shutdown. People are being fined for attending worship services, detained for running on empty beaches, arrested for not wearing masks in public. Meanwhile, some in the media promote reporting on your neighbors for supposed violations, seeking to make us into a nation of informants. The political left has used the pandemic to push its fanciful concept of a mail-in 2020 election. Can you say voter fraud? Under its plan, ballots would be mailed to everyone, whether requested or not. Unlicensed ballot harvesters would collect and drop off ballots in bulk. Voter ID would be non-existent. Who benefits from something like that? And have you heard many in the media interested in anything that might lead to reopening the economy? Can you say bottom line? Instead, they're pushing the shutdown drama narrative, ignoring positive statistics, encouraging states to resist federal advice to reopen. Common sense outbreaks, people ignoring the sanctions, such as in South Dakota, are mischaracterized as irresponsible and dangerous, and every effort by the Trump administration to move toward or even discuss reopening the country, in whole or in part, is criticized as a dire threat to public safety, regardless of the economic consequences of maintaining this lockdown. We're waiting until May to reopen. That means tens of millions more unemployed, further erosion of our liberties, untold destruction of our national fabric. Judicial Watch thinks the president should push back on governors resisting efforts to reopen the economy and who continue to suppress Americans' constitutional rights. Will that happen? I don't know. I'm not involved. I'm a victim. I'm just sitting over here watching it all unfold. And everybody's got their own opinion. I've given you mine. And maybe you agree with it or maybe you don't. But what we're going through today, we have never, ever done before. And we have had horrific outbreaks of disease in this country in our time on the planet. The outbreak of AIDS was worse than this. And we never once isolated the people who had it or were carriers for it. We still don't. It was the first time in American history, perhaps in world history, that we approached a pandemic the way we did that one. We found the guy who had it, was a carrier, and instead of isolating him like we did with Typhoid Mary, it was a political decision, a social political decision. It included behaviors that we didn't really want to be known condemning. Behaviors that we're not allowed to condemn to this day. Behaviors, if we were to discuss them in any kind of a critical manner, I would no longer be on Facebook. That's where America is. Somehow, we've lost our way. And we've done that with a president who we thought knew above all else the way. What's that tell you?